Hurry! Our last-minute gift sale at Lord & Taylor is going on now. Sweaters for her and him starting at $30. Up to 70% off fine jewelry. 50% off women's gloves, scarves, and more. Buy one, get one free on Holiday Gourmet. Stocking stuffers under $50. Plus more amazing presents. You can even buy online and pick up in store. It's all part of the last-minute gift sale now through December 24th at Lord & Taylor, the best priced secret.
Welcome to Healing You, presented by Define You Radio, with host Valencia Griffin-Wallace. Committed to helping you heal with stories, tips, and strategies by guests who were once hurting. In order to define you, you must first heal you. Now your host, Valencia Griffin-Wallace.
Welcome, everyone. This is Valencia Griffin-Wallace, and thank you so much for tuning in to Define You Radio presents Healing You, where you will hear the stories and life lessons from guests who understand that healing is part of the process of defining who we are. Tonight, we are discussing being pushed into purpose with guest Devonia Reed. And my wonderful co-host, Miss Tasha, will be joining us later, and Miss Connie, who didn't have to go through the time change that we all did because she's in Paris. She's not feeling well. Miss Connie, if you're listening, I hope you get better soon so you can join us back on Healing You Sundays. With that being said, if you have dialed in tonight and would like to get on the line with us here at Healing You, please press 1 on your keypad. We would love to hear from you. Make sure you follow and connect with the show on Blog Talk Radio and Define You Radio's Facebook page for updates, show notes, and guest information. Our guest tonight is an author, speaker, mentor, and educator. She has served as a public school educator for over 17 years. Wow, she's put in some time, guys. She's the president of Welcome to the Queendom, an organization dedicated to empowering not only girls, but also young women. Her life has been dedicated to educating and advocating for children. What pushed her into her purpose and how has this helped her? Let's find out and welcome Ms. Devonia to the show. Devonia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Valencia.
We are glad to have you here and for spending your Sunday with us. I know if you're in the States, we had daylight savings time. So where it would normally be 6 o'clock, it's actually 7 o'clock, and I think other countries experience it at a later date and some not at all, which is amazing to me. I'm learning new stuff. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that about Paris, but I did. I am feeling the effects of the springing forward and the hour that I lost. So I am definitely almost past my bedtime now.
Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know I was like, I hope everybody remembered to, set their clocks and get on the radio and listen to the show, because I know a lot of people are feeling, sleepy or vice versa right now. We're all still adjusting here in the States. So I'm excited to have you on. I know we're going to hit so many great topics. But first, can you tell the audience a little bit more about you? I kind of touched on a few things, but of course, they always like to hear from the guests first.
Well, as you said, I am the president of Welcome to the Queendom, which is a nonprofit organization. We actually became an organization in August of this year, so very new. We started out as an event and kind of spread into this nonprofit. I am also an educator, been an educator for over 17 years. I have written a couple of children's books about issues I guess we'll talk about a little bit more later, so I won't get into it now, but written a couple of children's books, and I'm the mom of 4 amazing grown men and also a grandmother, and so if you can believe it, and a grandmother. So have a lot going on, a lot of wonderful things going on in my life, been very blessed.
Well, congratulations on the grandma status and the 4 wonderful. So you have 4 all boys. You have all boys. All
boys, no girls. Yes.
Yay.
And during that process, of course, at one point I wanted a daughter, but
right.
Which is funny because my ministry is with girls, but I've raised 4 boys, which is amazing. I love it. I love it. If I had to choose between raising 4 girls and 4 boys, I go with the 4 boys.
I have 1 son and a lot of nieces and bonus daughters, and I tell people, to me, maybe because all I have is a son, but it seems like boys are less complicated. Maybe I'm a little biased because, I do have a son, but, I've watched my nieces periodically, and, so I would choose having, my son. Now, at one point in time, I wanted a mini-me. I wanted that mini Valencia, but I was like, I don't know how good that would be for the world.
Oh, absolutely. So, it's been great. Still a blessing, but I absolutely agree. And we probably are biased because we don't have a daughter,
right.
But I would not trade my sons in for anything.
Yes, understood. So, with you being a mom, with you being let's talk about, before I ask that question, let's talk about when did you realize that you were meant to help children?
That's funny because there was not a specific moment, but I'm going to tell the story because it's funny how I became an educator, which is really wrapped around being a mom. And because I was a mom at 17, I had my first son at 17 years old. So I was a teen mom, and before I ever got pregnant, I was determined that I would go to college. I was going to go away to college, and I was going to be a social worker. That was my plan, to be a social worker. But then I became a mom, and I had a son, and then I had another one, and then I had another one, and then yet another one. So as I was a parent, I had to decide what would be the best occupation for that role. That was my primary role. And that was the most important thing to me, was being a mother and still being able to be a mother and have a job. And I was very analytical about this, and I decided that I would be a teacher. And that's how I decided, because I knew I wanted to be home when my sons were home. I knew that I needed to be home on the weekends when they were home, and I knew I needed to have the holidays off when they were off. I didn't, it was hard for me to trust people being a young mom, and I wanted to be the one who took care of them when they were at home. And I decided that the best career for me was to be a teacher. So I did everything in my life, as some people might say, backwards, because I was a mother, a wife. I was all these things before I got into my career. So really, being a parent dictated my career. I thought that I had chosen this path, but actually it really was divine, because that's really where my gift lies. I can teach. I'm a teacher. That's what's in me. That is how I became involved with children, is first by being an educator.
Do you think that you would have became an educator if you weren't a mom?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't. I've never been asked that question, because for me it was what it was. It
was hand in hand.
Yeah, it was just that was it. But I believe that I believe in the divine. So I believe some type of way that I would have still been on this path. How, I don't know. Maybe as I had gone to college, I would have realized that's what I wanted to do. But I do believe, because that is my gift, that I would have gotten I would have figured out that that's where I'm supposed to be.
Okay. So were you a single parent or a married parent, or how did your parenting journey go?
Oh, goodness. Okay. These are the best questions. Okay. I was.
Thank you.
first teen mom, and the first boy that I met, as we all do, our first love, fell in love with him, and we became parents. And at 17 years old, the day after my 17th birthday, I moved out of my family's home. I say family because at that time, my mom and my sisters and I, we lived with my grandmother. So I moved out the day after I turned 17, and I moved in with the boy, the father of my child. At that time, we had one. And we decided that we were going to, and I'm going to say play house, because neither of us had any idea what we were doing, having never grown up with any example of what real parenting looked like, right, or what marriage looked like, or what real relationships looked like. But we were having a baby, and I needed to escape, to be honest. I was ready to go, and I left. And we were together for a while, but we had so many issues. I endured so much during that relationship because I had stuck in my head that I was going to provide my boys with what I didn't have, and I sacrificed myself during that whole journey. I finally decided that I had had enough, and we split. So we were together. I said I did everything backwards. We had some kids. Then we got married. I'm knowing that wasn't the right decision because the relationship was horrible. It was detrimental for me. But I was so convinced that I was going to give something more to my children and that I was going to make this thing work. You can really convince yourself of some things, and that's what I had done. And I sacrificed a lot because of that and gave up a lot. However, I look at it as now I have this story that I can tell to other girls that can help them. So finally I decided, Valencia, that enough was enough, and we split. Well, I never thought that splitting with him meant that he was no longer going to be a father, that he would split with his children as well. So not only did we divorce, he divorced his children, and I became a single parent. My sons were older. My baby was about 7 or 8, and I think my oldest son was about 11 or 12. They were somewhere in there. And at a very important age, especially for the two oldest one, when they really need their dad, and they're about to become preteens and then teens and those type of things, and then my babies, but he disappeared. And here I was alone, having never really been alone in my entire life, leaving my family's home, then being with him, and then now I'm here. Now I'm faced with what am I going to do along with 4 sons to raise.
Wow, you touched on so many areas I know a lot of the audience can relate to, especially when you talked about not really having an example of parenting, so to speak. You know, I know that was a big concern of mine when I got pregnant with my son was, Lord, how am I going to parent this child when I don't know what that looks like? Not a way that I could say, okay, this is how it's done. And then you touched on with the playing house and a relationship, marriage, it's definitely something, like I said, a lot of people can relate to because it's hard to do what you don't see a good example of. Mm-hmm. And so I do want to, applaud you for, being so open and honest and telling that part of it. And even with the splitting with the divorcing, and like you said, he divorced your children also. And, it's so much that people can learn from that, because I think when people go through stuff, we feel like we're alone. And so hearing you say that, I know a lot of women, especially men, I'm not, singling, ignoring you guys, but I'm talking about the women right now. They could definitely relate to that. Oh my goodness, I'm a single parent, like real life single parent. So you're in a situation. You have 4 beautiful sons, and it's you and them. So what's next?
It's just me and them. This thing called motherhood, and I'm going to say motherhood because I'm a mother, can really push you beyond where you ever thought you would go. And I believe I have in my children's book, I write to my sons, I am because you are. Because a lot of things that I accomplished was really because of them. I had no choice. I couldn't give up. And they were dependent on me. I was it for them. And they didn't have grandparents who they can go see. There weren't people lining up to keep them or where I could take them. There was none of that. It was me and them, and that was it. And so they depended on me. And what was next was, okay, what do you have to do to keep your kids in this house? Because we had just moved into a new house. I had no idea I was going to pay that mortgage by myself. I had just gotten a new job. There were a lot of new things happening, but I was afraid. I'm going to be honest. I was scared for a little while of what was going to happen, but not so afraid that I was willing to still deal with what I had to deal with. I knew when I said I was done that I was going to have to deal with some things on my own. I knew that. And so I had to get an inner strength. There was an inner strength that I had to muster up, and faith. I'm going to tell you, faith in God that He was going to make this is going to work out. And I pushed forward. I went back to school again, got a master's degree, because in my head all I was thinking was, you need to make more money. You need to make more money. How can you make yourself more marketable? What do you have to do? Went back to school and got a master's degree in reading. Still in my mind, I needed to make more money. Went back to school and got an endorsement in educational leadership. And those things really wasn't because I wanted the accolades and I needed the certificates. It was because I had to make a living for my family. That's what pushed me.
Right.
I had to make a living.
And it made sense, because you knew you had to make more money, and it seemed to make sense, and you kept pushing. So literally, you were pushed into your purpose, literally, because of the situation, and you didn't give up. You knew it had to be done. So I definitely want to applaud you for that, because a lot of women and men too, a lot of people, I'll just say that, will stay stuck in a bad situation just because it's convenient. It's easier to stay in a bad situation than face the unknown. And people will say their faith is strong. Our faith is strong, but we're still scared. And so I love that you did that, because you knew it had to be done, and you had faith that it would be done. So I wanted to applaud you for that, and then take a second to welcome Tasha to the show. She just hopped on the line. Hey, Tasha.
Hi, Tasha.
Hello. Hi.
You guys know Tasha is of Positive Express, and she's one of the co-hosts of Healing You. So she'll hop on with her questions and comments shortly. So as you started dealing with your kids, and you're going to school, and it's basically you and your kids, do you think that, or how, I guess would be the better question, how do you think that helped you when it came to dealing with other people's kids?
I believe that everything that I went through, let me say this first. As I realized, as I went through that whole, even though I had children, I was still in high school when I had the first one, still finished high school, still went to college, having babies but still going to school, and seeing some of the people who I went to school with and maybe had children as well, I could see them still in the same place. And when I look at them and I think about all the girls that had children, teen moms, teenagers, and believe that this is it, I can't go any further, I'm going to be on welfare the rest of my life, I don't have anything else to look forward to because maybe I've never seen anything beyond this neighborhood, because I know that there are girls like that, because I've seen them grow into women like that. I knew that it was my responsibility to show them that you can be more, you can do more, there is more beyond that. You may have had a child, but that doesn't stifle you, that doesn't keep you from moving forward in life. It's a being and doing whatever you want to do. And that after, as I grew older, I knew that I had to be the example for them. I knew that I had to. I knew that was part of my ministry, and that's why you went through this stuff, Devonia, because it is supposed to inspire other girls that's like you.
And it's, very much that lead by example, because you did it. And like you said, a lot of people, have kids young. I know I did. I know a lot of people who have, and tend to stop or don't go. In fact, I did, put my college education off and still working on, now that I'm a businesswoman and have the shows, still trying to find time to finish those credits. But at the time, it was like the last thing on my mind, because I was, a single parent, not by choice. And I tell people, nobody raises their hand and chooses to be a single parent, nobody that I know of. You really have to be a strong woman, a strong person to be put in a situation and still be able to reach your purpose. And yours, like I said, literally you were pushed into purpose and leading by example because you lived it. So it's not like you're just telling them, you lived it. And I think that's really awesome for, young ladies especially, to see that it could still be done. So as we kind of turn the talk to talk about children today or teens today, what do you see as the biggest problem facing children today, or teens today, rather?
There are a couple of things that I think the biggest problem or some of the issues. Number one is technology. I believe that technology is great. However, I think that it has a very negative impact on our kids. And I say that because they literally have everything at their fingertips. If your child has a phone, then they have everything at their fingertips. If they have a television in their room, they have access to so much. I believe our kids are being robbed of their childhood because of the things that they see and what they think they're supposed to be doing because they get the opportunity to see it. I know on a couple of occasions of children who are looking at porn on their phones, and, they're not even 10 years old yet. We don't know what they're doing. So some of the things, and then when they see that, what do they want? Oh, that looks like fun. Hey, let me try that. Our children they know so much, it's ridiculous of what they know. And they know because they are exposed to so much. But also on the flip side is that because we have so much technology as parents, and some people are going to be offended by this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I believe that I'm going to say it anyway. I believe that we are different as parents. We have a lack of parenting that's happening today. And I say that, too, because now that our kids have so much that can take their attention, Like we can plop them in front of the television. We can give them a cell phone. They can come engrossed in so much that we don't spend as much time with them. So what about when there were no televisions or when there were no cell phones? We had to spend time with our kids, right? Or we had to send them outside where parenting was much more hands-on. Now we are in an age where our kids feel entitled because we give them everything. They don't want to work for anything. And now they are at a disadvantage because now they are not being parenting. I think we look at parenting as, do they have food on the table and clothes on their back? And I'm not saying everybody, but let's think about it. When you think about your kids, or you think about the kids that you know, they are in the television, a video game, or they are on their cell phone. How much time do we intentionally spend with our kids? Do we even know what they're watching? Or are we sitting there watching, what is that show, Power and Empire with them? I know it's happening because my kids come to school and say, Miss Reed, did you see Empire last night? And I'm like, what? Well, I know last night on Empire this and this happened. I would not want my child watching that. So I think that we have become so lackadaisical with how we are parenting that we are neglecting, and I'm saying neglecting because we're not spending quality time with our kids. We're allowing television to raise them. They're getting their morals, they're getting their standards. They're seeing people have sex, use profanity, and that's what they're doing. And I see it every day. So it's not something I'm making up. It's something I see every single day when I go to work. And I see my 8th graders smoking weed, coming to school smelling like weed, or they're talking to, or pregnant, 8th grader's pregnant. So these are things that I see. It's what I know. So I think those are some of the things. It's detrimental. We have to become more intentional about parenting and how and what we are doing with our children. We have to become more intentional. I did a little video series this past summer about being intentional with your children. Take those TVs out of the room. Remember when there used to be parental blocks on TVs and things like that? But what's the use in that if they still have a cell phone that they're looking at all night long and we don't know what they're looking at? So I just think we need to become much more intentional about what's going on in our homes and the time that we spend with our children and the values and the standards and things that we teach them.
And I'm glad you said that. So thank you for saying that because I agree 100%, especially when I hear people talk about what's wrong with the kids of today. Well, the kids of today were raised by the parents, the kids of yesterday, or the parents of today. And, instead of, like when my son was growing up, he'll be 20 Thursday, actually, I read to him. But now you see parents, they'll give their kids an iPad or something of that nature with a story on there that will read to them. And not saying that's good or bad, but there's something you lose in that quality time and your kids hearing your voice and those things. It's something that's being left behind. And like you said, it's intentional parenting that needs to be done. Then we wouldn't see so many problems with kids today. If you see a kid smoking weed, then you wonder where did they see that? And then a lot of times you probably find out, well, the mama or the daddy or the mama or the daddy, girlfriend, boyfriend, or they seen it or TV. Why are you watching Empire or Power or any of those other shows that so thank you for hitting on that, and we'll definitely have to have another show just hitting on Parenting 101.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So
I agree.
And one of the you touched on technology, and so this is kind of where we're going to talk a little bit about kids in technology. And one of the things that I notice a lot on social media, because I see, the co-host Tasha is associated with, her teen organization. So I see a lot of those posts that's having to do with teens, and you see kids are, committing suicide or going through this or so on and so forth because they're being bullied on social media through text messages, through technology, and a lot of times the parents are unaware. So when we talk about bullying, how much, because I know that's something close to your heart also, are you seeing it more today versus maybe when you first started being an educator?
So you're right. That ties so much into technology as well, because when you and I were growing up and we went to school, we saw our friends at school, and then that was it. You know, we won't see them again until the next day. But now children have access to each other 24/7. They have access to each other once they leave school. So now there's this thing called cyberbullying. You have the physical bullying where when you might be hit or called names, but now we have cyberbullying, which is, I think, an even bigger issue, because now when I go home, I'm faced with the taunting, the teasing, the ridiculing, and not only that, it's public for everybody to see. And the number of suicides has gone up, and depression. So absolutely, it has really gone up, I would say, because of technology. You could see more of it. And when children come to school on Monday, the things that happen on the weekend, they bring it to school on Monday. And it wasn't like that before. But now it's like you're on Snapchat. Did you see what's happening on Snapchat? Did you see what he said on Snapchat? It's social media has access to everything, and everything is there for them. And then it's public, so it's even more embarrassing. And you're right, it is close to my heart. And that was the first book I wrote, was about bullying. And in that book, I'm trying to teach children to be more empathetic. So there's a lesson in that story. I want them to realize that every family is not created the same. Everybody doesn't have the same resource or the same money or the same family, the same parents. And it is very important to me, because I really want to create some empathy in children, because I believe that that's what they really lack. They make fun of other people because they don't get it. They don't understand that this person is not even their fault if they don't have the brand new whatever on. It's their parents can afford it, and that's okay. So I think technology plays a huge role in that as well.
Wow. Did seeing the bullying make you say, okay, this is an issue I know I need to touch, or was it a more personal experience with bullying that made you say, okay, this is close to my heart?
Let me say this first. I never planned to write a children's book. That was never an aspiration of mine. Ever in my life. It wasn't. I don't know where it came from, except it was from God. It wasn't from Devonia, because I would never have chosen to do that. You know how you some days say, oh, well, someday I might write a book about my life, but just this something came upon me and said, hey, you need to write this book in children's book, but it wasn't me. So this book, it was divine, I'm going to say. It is honestly. And I'm not just saying that, people. It was not me, because I wouldn't have written a children's book. But it came about. It was given to me, not because of anything that I experienced personally, but what I see on a daily basis with children, and how, oh my God, they're so materialistic, because that's probably what they see and where they came from. Because, like I said, we're in a time where children feel so entitled. And I know this, because I know people who think that when the brand new Jordans come out, I'm going to have some on my feet. And that's what's important, is that I have the brand new Jordans on. And they value that more than they value people. And I really want to teach children how to value each other and not things and what they wear. It's important to me to try to kind of change some mindsets, because if we don't change the way they think, we're not going to change their actions. So for me, it's about changing how they think, because you make a person feel bad. You don't know how you're affecting somebody else when you do these things. But we have to teach them, and we have to start having conversations. So this book is my attempt to help others, other families, other schools, to have the conversations about bullying and how it affects others, and in the role that the bystander plays, because your child may not be the bully or your child may not be the one that's being bullied, but if your child is watching bullying go on, your child is the third party in that situation, which is the bystander. And in 67% of cases, if a bystander steps in, then the bullying stops. Isn't that something? If a child just says something, or maybe if they don't even say anything. In this book, she doesn't say anything, but she's a bystander, but then she finally says, hey, you know what, I'm going to be your friend and include you in things. And she never told anybody, but that action just changed some things. So I really want us to realize that the bystander does play a role in bullying as well. And so this is just my attempt to try to help others address this, because it's not going away, and it's not a kid's issue, because our kids are killing themselves. You know, they are committing suicide because of this. If you've seen in the news the little girl, maybe that was last summer or a couple of summers ago, I think she was videotaped. So we go back to technology, in the shower or something, and it was posted on social media. She's so embarrassed that she committed suicide. So we have to take this issue seriously, a lot more seriously than we do. I know the schools are trying to address it more. They have special codes for that, and they're trying to take it a little more seriously. But I think as parents, we really have to become more aware.
I know, and I agree that, you know, parents do. I guess it kind of goes back to that intentional parenting. And if you're intentional and you spend time with your kids, and you will kind of be aware of what's, you know, going on. And I remember, I want to say last year I did a show, and I actually had a bullying victim on, and the video was just ridiculous. Like, it went viral, the video, and they created memes, and I want to say Kevin Hart or one of those comedians even mentioned it. It was like a huge deal. And this was maybe 5-6 years ago, I think, that this happened. But I had the show with her last year. And I could hear how, just hearing her, and I'm like, Lord, listening to that show and having these conversations made me realize that I probably would have been considered a bully in school. Not that I would intentionally seek people out, but I was having my own drama at home, so I just didn't want to allow people in my circle. And then if you came into my circle, then I would, you know, make your life really uncomfortable, because my circle was where my secrets were kept. And I think a lot of times, I don't know, but I think a lot of times with kids that are, quote unquote, bullies, they do have some stuff going on at home. I know I did. And it was seriously a revelation to me just last year. I was like, oh my goodness, I would have been considered a bully, even though I didn't seek anybody out to harass, but it was little to no excuse for me to make your school, and I was in high school. So that's very, very interesting. When you look at the kid that's being bullied and the person that's doing the bullying, how do you see it affect both kids? Or, how can you talk to a child, or can you tell certain mannerisms a child is doing and say, okay, I think you're being bullied?
What are you saying, as an educator or a parent, or either? It doesn't matter. As a parent, I think we have to, when we see our children change, maybe their personality change, maybe this happy kid, but now they're not, or really trying to avoid school, trying to stay out of school. Oh, I don't want to go to school today. Always having a reason for not wanting to go, or they're sick, or trying to get to the nurse all the time. Just trying not to be in school or be in the classroom, or maybe even a drop in grades. Those are some signs that something is not right, or just something is going on. As a teacher, I pretend it's just like being a parent, sort of. So, and kids always mistakenly call me mom because they say I act like their mother, but it's because I can't turn my mommy off. So, and a lot of them are just, like she's mom, but I'm here, but I don't hear. So they think I'm not paying attention, but I pay attention to everything. And whenever I have a sign, a whiff of you trying to be a bully in my class, I go off, and it sounds crazy, but I do. I have a fit, and I do. I really do. They like, this lady is crazy. You're not going to bully anymore. You're not going to treat somebody bad or make them feel bad in here. And I make it a huge deal because you want kids to know that you care, first of all, that you care enough to say something. But then you want the others to know that this is behavior that's unacceptable and you're not going to do this. That's what I do as a teacher. As a parent, it's why it's good to have relationships with your kids, because kids, they'll come home when they have good relationships and they may say something. But then you have this rule, snitches get stitches. So sometimes they don't want to tell mom and dad because they'll feel like, oh, I'm already bullied. People will really bully me if I say something, and they may be scared. That's why we have to look for these signs, changes in mood, changing in personality, grades dropping, trying not to go to school. We have to really pay attention to that and not just brush it off as something that, you just don't want to go to school. When it's something persistent and there are multiple things going on, you might want to start paying attention and asking questions.
And, guys, if you're listening in live, if you dialed in and you have a question or comment, feel free to press 1 on your dial pad and get on Healing You on this Sunday, where we're having a very interesting conversation with Miss Devonia. I'm enjoying it, and I want to bring Tasha in at this point, if that's okay, because I know she has personal experience with bullying. So, Tasha, if you wanted to jump in real quick.
Yes. I actually want to ask a question because I'm dealing with a child now that's having an issue with not wanting to go to school. The parent is constantly going to the school and trying to get to the bottom line of it, but she's not getting anywhere. And she's at the point where she wants to take her child out of the school. What is it something that she can do to try to prevent having to take her out of a school just to switch because of a bully?
Is she in a public school?
Yes.
And she's taking this to the principal and not the teacher?
Right.
Okay. I would suggest going above the principal, maybe going to the board, or I would suggest going above, because here's the thing. You can take your child out, but if this school isn't addressing it, then there's another kid that maybe be going through the same thing. I know that we're only probably concerned about our own kids, but I think that we should try to get it addressed where the bullying is happening. And have they had any meetings with the parents of the other kid or anything?
They had a meeting where I think it was just the kids and the parents and the principal, but I don't think it was solved because, like I say, she's still where she doesn't want to go to school anymore due to whatever's going on, and nobody's doing anything. So she's been skipping school or skipping class due to the fact of the bullying.
I would definitely go over the principal, but also maybe a different classroom too might be a temporary solution. Maybe not the class. I don't know if this is an elementary or high school. Is it elementary or high school?
It's middle school, actually.
Middle school, okay.
Junior high.
So maybe being transferred to another classroom may help solve the problem, so they're not in the same vicinity. But I would request a meeting with the principal and the other parents of whoever the bully is. That would be my next step. So if I've just met with the principal and the girl, I would ask to meet with the parents and the other child and try to get a resolution that way. But I wouldn't give up. I would continue. If that parent needs to be persistent. I think sometimes we want to give up and move. No, keep pushing because you'll get results. If you have to go over to the next level, then that's what you have to do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
And we also have another question or comment. One moment. Caller, you're on the line.
Hey, hello.
Hello. Welcome to Healing
Can
You.
you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hey, my name is Joshua. And I had a question. My question was, I was thinking, so if these kids, I'm thinking like, what would be a resolution to the bullying nowadays instead of like I would say like old-fashioned ways of going about it, like as Ms. Reed said before, that we do have cyberbullying, and like the kids do want to be online, and they do want to do the stuff that the other kids do. What's the resolution for them to still like operate as normal kids, but not get bullied? Like, what would be a resolution for that? Because I feel like a lot of the things that you guys are addressing, it's addressing a lot of the things that do happen with bullying. But I mean, like current bullying, it's like real intense. So I would like to just get you guys your views on that.
So your question is how to. Am I really getting the question? As a question, how do we resolve bullying?
Yeah. So how do our kids still feel normal and still do things that everyone else do? But still, but not have to deal with the bullying. Like, what would be a resolution? I know you said take it to the board, but what happened when the kid is just crushed mentally, but they still want to do the same things that other kids do? Like, what do we do? Like, what are ways that we can act as parents and as?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to find out you guys' thoughts on the current bullying situation or the cyberbullying. I just wanted you guys to elaborate on that a little more.
I believe that still as a parent, you have to. Your job is first and foremost for your child. So if there isn't a resolution, as I did suggest going above, but if there's not a resolution, then that parent has to protect their child. I'm thinking you're asking how do we keep them, allow them to have technology. I think that's what your question is. Allow them to have a cell phone and things like that while still protecting them. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. To still have the luxury to do those things, but not be bullied. Not have to feel like every time we do log into whatever it is, Facebooks, and because kids are going to do it. I think all kids are going to get on social media. This is just my opinion. At least for the most part, most of them are, because, like you said, that's most of their day for the most part. So, how does the kid what does the kid do? Because I feel like a lot of kids, what they do to resolve this problem is they try to look and act like the other kids, and it begins to take a toll on them down the line. So I just wanted you guys to sort of elaborate on how we could, make it better, make it so our kids can feel like normal kids.
It all goes back to what we talked about earlier and being intentional about your parenting. When we build up children that love themselves, that are confident, that feel secure, when we do those things as parents, I think that will transfer over to the child. When you have a child that's confident, they're less likely to fall even victim to bullying, because they're like, okay, well, whatever, I know I'm this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all about preventive measures. I get it. I get problems, but for me, it's all about how do we solve them, like you're saying. What's the solution? The solution, everything for me, it goes back to how are we raising. When we're raising children, being intentional, trying to pour into them as parents, trying to let them know that we're always there for them, then that way they won't really become victims, because they're, first of all, they have the confidence, and secondly, they're going to go home and be like, you know what, this kid is doing this, this, and this. So for me, I believe it all goes back to who and how are we building these children up? What are we doing to pour into our child so that they don't fall victim? Which it goes back to that book, and I'm not trying to endorse my own book, but it's an opportunity to have conversations, and those conversations are important. And that's what we do to combat that. When we can build kids or individuals that are confident in themselves, I think we help to combat a lot of issues.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks. And I wanted to add to that really quick. We can't really apply old school parenting, and then we're going to kind of turn the conversation a little bit because we're running out of time. But you can't apply old school parenting, so to speak, to new school stuff, right? So I remember just as my son was growing up, and kids were really starting to get cell phones and so on and so forth, I remember having those conversations with him like, hey, anybody bothering you at school? And even with my nieces and, extended family, my suggestion would be handle it as if you had a troll on your social media. Because even as adults, and I wish we had more time to get into this, but even as adults, I've seen adults get bullied on social media. So you kind of have to take those same principles. If someone was bullying you on social media, what would you do? You would unfollow, unfriend, block them, report them if you have to, and it doesn't change your daily life. But then also speak life into your kid and say, hey, it's nothing wrong with you. It's something wrong with them. So you kind of got to hit it from two areas. You got to try to eliminate a problem and add a solution to it, if that makes sense. I hope that kind of helped a little bit.
Oh, yeah, they both answers help. I definitely love what you guys are doing, and I enjoyed listening to you today also.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, Devonia will be back. We definitely have to hit on the adult bullying, because a lot of people, as adults, we get bullied too in a different way. Mm-hmm. So we're definitely going to touch on that. But thank you so much for joining us tonight, and appreciate your question and comment.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
That time goes by so fast, and that was a great question. That was a great question.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you, because we have like 8 minutes left in the show. That hour goes by so fast. When we talk about, I want to ask you, why do you feel that mentoring is so important?
Mentoring is important because it's about impact. So even if you think about mentoring in regards to, say, as a teacher, as an educator, I think about mentoring and the lack of that I didn't get, and how I had to fumble through, try to figure out everything on my own. I think mentoring is the opportunity to take everything that you know, the information, because I'm all about information and impact. Those are my two words for this year, information and impact. It takes the information that you have within you to impact the life of somebody else. And if I could take everything that I know and that I have and pour it into a young mother, and to help her to make some better decisions or good decisions for her child, why wouldn't I do that? If I could take what I know and pour it into a young girl to help her to be more confident and be able to create a future that she'll love, why wouldn't I do that? I think it is so important in every area of your life to have a mentor. And for me, I've done it for others, and I'm just realizing how important it is for me even as a new entrepreneur, and how I need mentors in my life to help me, to guide me to where I want to go next. So I'm very passionate about that, because I don't want to be an organization that offers an event or offers, some fun activities or workshops. I want to be an organization that impacts the lives of girls, that where when you see them, there is a visible change or visible impact in their lives that can be seen, heard, and felt. And I believe we should all kind of take responsibility for that.
And mentors don't have to be perfect. I think maybe that's why a lot of people don't step up in the area of, volunteering or mentoring, because they feel like, okay, I have to work on this area of my life or that area or X, Y, and Z area. What would you say to that?
Just what you just said. Mentors don't have to be. I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect, far from it. But I just think, especially now, and in my city, in Chicago, where I'm from, there are so many children that are hurting, that are being raised like I was raised without parenting, who don't have the support at home. I would ask that you not think about what you don't have to offer, but what you do have to offer. There's something that you have that child needs. We all have gifts. We all are able to serve. And I believe that our children are hurting. I have a heart for the children, because they'll grow up and they're going to take over one day. So they need us. They need us to pour into them, to mentor. And it's not about being perfect, but it's just about giving them a chance, and a chance at a life that maybe they wouldn't have if it were not for you.
And we all can teach somebody something. There's something that we know how to do, whether it's, how to read or how to cook or how to sew. There's always something that we can teach someone else, and it may seem little to us, but it could help them find their purpose. So that's going to kind of roll me into the next question. When it comes to finding your purpose, and let's say everybody doesn't find themselves pushed into it, even though I think you were pushed into your purpose on purpose.
Right.
How important do you think it is for both young adults and adults, period, to identify their purpose?
Oh, it's very important. It's essential, because we all have a why or a purpose. Every last one of us. We were created like that. So we were created to bring something to the earth and to serve it. And when we don't do that, then we are keeping our gifts from the world. So it has to be identified. And unfortunately, what happens as children, sometimes what we do as parents, kids know right away what they're good at. They spend time doing it. So you might have a child that's drawing all the time. They love to make pictures, and they say, hey, Mommy, Daddy, I want to be an artist. And then we say, no, you can't be an artist. Why do you want to be an artist? You need to be a lawyer. You need to be a doctor. Artist isn't good enough, and we talk them out of their purpose. But that was the thing. That was the gift that God gave them, and that's what they were supposed to be serving to the world, and we talk them out of it. And then when we have adults who go from job to job to job, they have no idea. They don't like this one. They're going to this. That's because they don't know their purpose. They're not happy. And if you don't, I believe you're not really happy until you're walking in your purpose. I don't think you're truly happy. I think you're just comfortable. You're living. You're surviving. But when you find that purpose, that thing will drive you every single day. It'll be something you love to do. You won't regret getting up in the morning. It's essential. It's absolutely essential that we all figure out why we are here.
And I wonder, if we encourage our kids to find their purpose and see what they, enjoy doing, I wonder if kids get focused that way, how much that may help bullying as a whole. Because if I'm focused on doing my arts or my writing, and my parents are encouraging it, then I'm really not going to have time, so to speak. Like they say, idle hands, the devil's playground, or something like that. I'm not going to have time to. Yeah. I'm really not going to have time to really worry about you, because I'm focused on my thing. And it's funny that you said that, because I was an artist, and I remember hearing, you can't make money doing that. So my love of art turned into just something I was good at, and I actually just stopped drawing, and stopped, because at one point in time I wanted to have a comic book. That's a whole other show. But that's what I was told, so I could completely understand, and I love that you said that. And before time runs out, and like I said, we're definitely going to have you on again, because I have so many questions. I know the audience does also, but, like I said, that 60 minutes, it goes really quick. So I want the listeners to get your information so they can find out more about you and your book, and, to see what you have going on next also.
I am Devonia Reed everywhere, so Devonia Reed on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I have a website, www.devoniareed.com, and also like my organization on Facebook, Welcome to the Queendom, or follow us on Instagram.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. And, guys, I want to thank you so much, Devonia, for joining us this week. Guys, I want you to make sure that if you're connected to the show online or on Facebook, her information is posted there. Like, love, support the book, support the movement. Welcome to the Queendom. What better name? I love it. I want to be part of it. It's been like an absolutely great show. And you guys, take Devonia's lead and pay attention to your kids, and don't be scared of that push into your purpose. And don't forget, you've learned something in life that you can teach somebody else. We should all ask ourselves, are we being pushed into our purpose that helps others, or are we fighting it because we're waiting to be perfect? That being said, guys, make sure you connect with Devonia at www.devoniareed.com. Thank you to my wonderful co-host with her questions and her comments, Tasha, Connie Lee. If you're listening, I hope you feel better. As usual, guys, our quote for the week: you have two hands, one to help yourself, the second to help others. That quote comes from Unknown. Well, that's tonight's show. Thank you again for joining us on Healing You. Make sure you join us next week, same time, same place, and have a great week. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for listening in to Healing You. Remember, you must heal you in order to define you. Join us next week, same time, same place, as we continue the healing journey together.
Hurry! Our last-minute gift sale at Lord & Taylor is going on now. Sweaters for her and him starting at $30. Up to 70% off fine jewelry. 50% off women's gloves, scarves, and more. Buy one, get one free on Holiday Gourmet. Stocking stuffers under $50. Plus more amazing presents. You can even buy online and pick up in store. It's all part of the last-minute gift sale now through December 24th at Lord & Taylor, the best priced secret. Hurry! Our last-minute gift sale at Lord & Taylor is going on now. Sweaters for her and him starting at $30. Up to 70% off fine jewelry. 50% off women's gloves, scarves, and more. Buy one, get one free on Holiday Gourmet. Stocking stuffers under $50. Plus more amazing presents. You can even buy online and pick up in store. It's all part of the last-minute gift sale now through December 24th at Lord & Taylor, the best priced secret.